Captain Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, staring at the blinking red light on his communication panel. The signal had been repeating for 3 hours now, coming from somewhere beyond Neptune. What made it special was not just its location, but its source code. The computer showed it was coming from Dr. Lisa Parker's ship, the one that had vanished 3 years ago. "Sir, we've cleaned up the transmission," said Lieutenant Danny Kim, his voice tight with excitement. "You're going to want to hear this." Jake nodded and pressed the playback button. Static filled the speakers. Then a familiar voice broke through. The noise, it was Lisa, but she sounded different, scared. "Jake, if you're getting this, then they're probably already on their way back. Earth isn't what we thought it was. It's not our home world. It's a testing ground. They put us here, Jake. They've been watching us, changing us, making us into something. The tests are almost over, and they're coming back to check the results." The message cut to static, then Lisa's voice came back, weaker now. "The other worlds? Jake, there are so many other worlds. Most of them failed the tests. The species got recycled, started over. But something went wrong with Earth. We weren't supposed to turn out like this. They don't know what to do with us." More static, then one final line that made Jake's blood run cold. "They're coming back to fix their mistake." The transmission ended. Jake stood in silence for a long moment, then turned to Lieutenant Kim. "How long ago was this sent?" "Based on the signal delay, about 18 hours ago, sir." Jake grabbed his communication device. "Get me Dr. Ryan Clark at the University of Colorado. Priority 1. While he waited for the connection, Jake thought about Lisa. She had been the best deep space explorer they had, volunteering for the most dangerous missions beyond the solar system. 3 years ago, she had detected strange energy readings near the edge of their system and had gone to investigate alone. Her ship had simply vanished. "Captain Morrison?" Dr. Clark's voice came through the speaker. He sounded tired. "Ryan, I need you to drop everything you're doing and get to my station. Bring all your research on human evolution. All of it." "Jake, what's going on? You sound worried. Just get here? And Ryan?" "Bring Dr. Amy Walsh with you. We're going to need a geneticist." 2 hours later, Dr. Clark sat in Jake's office, spreading papers and data tablets across the desk. Dr. Walsh sat beside him, her laptop open and running complex genetic analysis programs. "Jake, I have to tell you, Amy thinks I'm crazy," Ryan sighed, pointing to a chart showing human development over the last 100,000 years. "But look at this. Human evolution doesn't make sense." Amy rolled her eyes. "Ryan, evolution is messy. It doesn't follow neat patterns." "But this messy," Ryan insisted. "Look at these jumps. Every 50,000 years, humans suddenly develop new abilities. Better brains, stronger bodies, new ways of thinking. It's like someone keeps upgrading us." Jake played Lisa's message for them. Both scientists sat in stunned silence. "That's impossible," Amy whispered. "We know where humans came from." "We have the fossil record." "Do we?" Ryan asked quietly. "Amy, show him what we found in the DNA samples." Amy hesitated, then turned her laptop toward Jake. The screen showed a complex genetic map. "These are markers we found in human DNA," she said slowly. "They don't match any natural genetic patterns. It's like someone wrote code into our genes." "What kind of code?" "We don't know, but it's active. These markers turn on during times of stress or challenge. They help humans adapt faster and should be possible." Jake leaned back in his chair. "Lisa said we weren't supposed to turn out like this." "What did she mean?" Ryan pulled up another chart. "Maybe this. Look at other species on Earth. They follow predictable development patterns. Prey animals get faster or better at hiding. Predators get stronger, or smarter at hunting. But humans? We did something else. What? We learned to cooperate with everything. We turned wolves into dogs. We made friends with horses. We figured out how to work together, even with people who look different from us. Most species can't do. That, Amy nodded slowly, and we turned survival into entertainment. What other species creates dangerous situations for fun? We climb mountains that could kill us. We jump out of airplanes. We invented sports where the goal is to simulate combat. It's like we're programmed to enjoy challenges, Ryan added. Most animals avoid danger. We seek it out and try to overcome it. Before Jake could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The three of them rushed to the command center, where Lieutenant Kim was staring at his instruments with wide eyes. Sir, you need to see this. Something just appeared in orbit around Earth. It's huge. The main screen showed a massive structure, at least 10 miles long, hanging silently above the planet. It was clearly artificial, made of some dark material that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed along its surface. Are they trying to communicate? Jake asked. Yes, sir. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. The message is in English. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Put it through. A voice filled the command center. It was calm, emotionless, and spoke perfect English with no accent. Greetings, subjects of Development World Designation Earth. Testing phase complete. Evaluation begins now. Prepare for inspection. The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. The alien structure continued to hang in orbit, waiting. Dr. Clark grabbed Jake's arm. They called us subjects, not people. Subjects. Amy was staring at her laptop screen, watching as new data flowed in from orbital sensors scanning the alien ship. Jake, she said quietly, I'm reading massive power signatures from that thing. Whatever it is, it has enough energy to destroy our entire planet. Jake looked at the alien ship on the screen, then at his friends, then at the men and women working frantically at their stations around him. All of them trying to understand what was happening. All of them working together without being asked. Maybe that was what Lisa had meant. Maybe humans really were different. Maybe they had been made to be different. The question was, different enough to survive what was coming next? Get me President Davis, Jake said. It's time to tell the world that we're not alone, and that we might be in serious trouble. Admiral Kate Sullivan walked into the White House Situation Room at exactly 08:00 hours. She had flown all night from Colorado Springs after President Carroll Davis called her with news that seemed impossible. Aliens were real, and they were hanging above Earth right now. Admiral Sullivan, President Davis said, standing up from the long table where dozens of officials sat with worried faces. Thank you for coming so quickly. Kate nodded and took her seat next to Colonel Ben Harper, who was already studying satellite images of the alien ship. His jaw was tight, and she could see he was thinking about weapons and defense plans. What's our status? Kate asked. They've been silent for 6 hours, said General Tom Bradley from across the table. Just sitting there. Our satellites show the ship is scanning the entire planet. Every city, every military base, every populated area. Dr. Ryan Clark, who had been brought in as an expert on the situation, cleared his throat. Actually, they're not just scanning populated areas. They're looking at everything, forests, oceans, even remote islands where no humans live. Like they're studying the whole planet, added Dr. Amy Walsh, who sat beside him with her laptop open. President Davis pressed a button on the table. They requested communication with our leaders 2 hours ago. We're about to make contact. Lights dimmed, and a holographic projector activated in the center of the room. A figure appeared, tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. It wore no clothing, but its body seemed to be covered in natural patterns that moved like living tattoos. "Greetings," the figure said in the same emotionless voice they had heard from space. "I am designated as Interface Unit for the Oversight Collective. You may address me as Evaluator." President Davis leaned forward. "We are the leaders of Earth. We want to understand why you're here. You are here because we placed you here." The Evaluator said simply, "Earth Designation Development World 7741, seeded with genetic base material, 847,000 Earth years ago, modified and guided for optimal species development." The room fell silent. Kate felt her stomach drop. Colonel Harper's hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm, then stopped. "You're saying you created us?" President Davis asked. "Incorrect. We provided initial genetic templates and environmental pressures. Your species developed according to testing protocols designed to produce specific traits and capabilities." Dr. Clark couldn't stay quiet. "What kind of traits?" The Evaluator turned its large eyes toward him. Earth was designated as chaos adaptation. Development. Subjects were intended to develop survival capabilities in unpredictable environments. High stress tolerance. Individual problem solving. Aggressive territorial behavior leading to controlled conflict resolution. "But something went wrong," Dr. Walsh said, remembering Lisa Parker's message. "Correct. Development proceeded outside expected parameters. Subjects began displaying traits not included in original design specifications." Kate found her voice. "What traits?" "Interspecies cooperation, cross-genetic bonding, recreational danger engagement, non-logical resource sharing, group problem solving using chaotic methodology." The alien paused, and for the first time, it seemed uncertain. Most concerning, subjects began treating survival challenges as entertainment activities. "This behavior has no precedent in our database of 47,000 successful development worlds." Colonel Harper leaned forward. "You've done this before? To other planets?" "Affirmative. The Oversight Collective maintains 47,000 active development worlds across this galaxy sector. Each world is designed to produce species optimized for specific functions within galactic civilization." "What functions?" President Davis asked. "Warrior species for conflict resolution, builder species for construction projects, thinker species for research and analysis, worker species for resource extraction and processing." Kate felt anger building in her chest. "And what were humans supposed to be?" "Chaos adaptation specialists. Beings capable of functioning in unpredictable environments where standard species cannot operate effectively. However, development parameters specified individual operators who could follow command structures." Dr. Clark was taking notes rapidly. "But we didn't develop that way." "Negative. Earth subjects developed metadaptation capabilities. They actively create beneficial outcomes from chaotic situations rather than simply surviving them. They form cooperative bonds across genetic lines that should be impossible. They seek out dangerous situations for non-survival purposes." "Hey." Evaluator moved closer to the table, and Kate could see something like confusion in its alien features. "Most problematic, Earth subjects treat critical survival scenarios as recreational activities. Our analysis indicates humans invented 347 different ways to simulate life-threatening situations for entertainment purposes." Dr. Walsh laughed despite herself. "You mean sports?" "Incorrect terminology. Sports implies competition with established rules. Earth subjects created activities with no survival benefit that deliberately increase danger. Mountain climbing, ocean diving, aerial jumping, combat simulation games. These behaviors serve no logical evolutionary purpose." Kate realized something important. "You don't understand us." "Correct. Earth subjects represent the first development failure in oversight collective records that cannot be explained by standard evolutionary models. Colonel Harper's voice was hard. What happens to failures? The evaluator was quiet for a long moment. Standard protocol requires resolution phase. Genetic material is preserved for analysis. Planetary surface is sterilized. New base species is seeded using corrected parameters. You're talking about wiping out humanity, President Davis said. Correct. However, Earth subjects present unique analysis opportunity. The collective requires understanding of how meta-adaptation capabilities developed. This understanding could improve future development world protocols. Kate stood up. So you're going to study us and kill us anyway? Incorrect. Evaluation phase will determine optimal resolution. If Earth subjects demonstrate stable, controllable meta-adaptation, they may be integrated into galactic civilization in specialized roles. Dr. Clark looked up from his notes. What kind of specialized roles? Unknown. No precedent exists. Earth. Subjects would represent entirely new functional category. The hologram flickered, and the evaluator seemed to receive some kind of message. Initial evaluation protocols will commence in 72 Earth hours. Test subjects will be selected from various population centers. Cooperation will ensure minimal disruption to remaining population during analysis period. And if we don't cooperate? Colonel Harper asked. Resistance will be noted as additional behavioral data. It will not prevent evaluation procedures. President. Davis stood up. We need time to discuss this with our people. Acceptable. Communication channel remains open. Notification of compliance or resistance is expected within 48 Earth hours. The hologram disappeared, leaving the room in heavy silence. Kate looked around the table at the worried faces of Earth's leaders. So they created us to be controllable. Chaos specialists, but we turned into something they didn't expect. Something they can't understand, Dr. Walsh added. Colonel Harper was already planning. We need to evacuate population centers, prepare defensive positions, and mobilize all military units. Ben, President Davis said quietly, they have technology that can travel between stars. What are our weapons going to do against that? Kate smiled grimly. Maybe that's exactly the kind of thinking that makes us different. They expect logical responses to impossible situations. She looked at the others. But we're humans. We don't do logical. We do something else entirely. Commander Steve Brooks floated in his spacesuit outside the alien ship, trying to stay calm while his heart pounded. He had volunteered for this reconnaissance mission because someone needed to get close to the massive structure and see what they could learn. What he found was far worse than anyone had imagined. Through his helmet radio, he whispered to the team back on Earth Defense Station Alpha. Jake, you need to see this. I'm sending video feed now. Captain Jake Morrison watched. His screen as Steve's camera showed the alien ship's surface. What looked like smooth metal from a distance was actually covered in thousands of small viewing ports. Through each port, they could see other worlds. My God, Jake breathed. Steve, are those other planets? That's what I thought at first. But look closer. Steve moved his camera to focus on one of the ports. Inside, they could see a world covered in crystal cities. Strange insect-like beings moved through the streets in perfect formation, never deviating from set paths. They all move the same way, Steve observed, like they're following programmed routes. He moved to another port. This one showed a water world where dolphin-like creatures swam in organized groups, building identical structures on the ocean floor. Jake, I've looked at 20 different worlds through these ports. Every species moves in patterns. Perfect patterns, like machines. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Get back here, Steve. Now. An hour later, Steve sat in the briefing room with Jake, Dr. Clark, and Dr. Walsh. The video he had recorded played on the main screen, showing world after world of perfectly organized alien civilizations. They're not just organized, Dr. Walsh sighed, studying the footage. They're identical. Look at this water world. Every building is exactly the same size and shape. Every swimming pattern is repeated perfectly. Dr. Clark was taking notes rapidly. It's like they bred the creativity out of them, made them into biological robots. That's exactly what they did, came a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see a woman in a torn spacesuit walking into the room. It was Dr. Lisa Parker, but she looked different. Her hair was white instead of brown, and her eyes seemed to glow faintly. Lisa! Jake jumped up and hugged her. We thought you were dead. How did you get here? I escaped from their research facility, she said, sitting down heavily. Jake, we're in serious trouble. The Oversight Collective doesn't just test species. They manufacture them. She pointed to the screen showing the organized alien worlds. Every one of those species started like us. Chaotic, creative, unpredictable. The aliens put them through testing phases that slowly removed their ability to think for themselves. By the end, they became perfect workers who never question orders. Doctor. Walsh leaned forward. How many worlds are we talking about? Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. The collective has been doing this for millions of years. They create species, test them, modify them, and then use them to run their galactic empire. But something went wrong with Earth, Dr. Clark said. Lisa nodded. We were supposed to be chaos adaptation specialists. Beings who could handle unpredictable situations, but still follow orders. Instead, we became something they never expected. What? We became chaos creators. We don't just adapt to unpredictable situations. We make them better. We turn problems into opportunities. We find benefits in disasters. Jake thought about that, like how we turned wolves into dogs. Exactly. Or how we invented jazz music by breaking musical rules. Or how we created the internet by connecting computers in ways that weren't planned. We don't just survive chaos. We use it to create new possibilities. Dr. Walsh was staring at her laptop screen. Lisa, what did they do to you? Your DNA is showing some kind of modification. Lisa touched her white hair. They tried to understand how human creativity works by studying me directly. They enhanced my brain to process information faster, but they couldn't figure out how to control it. Every enhancement they gave me just made me more unpredictable. Did you learn anything useful? Jake asked. Yes, the collective has a weakness. They're so focused on control and predictability that they can't handle genuine surprises. Their entire civilization is based on everyone following predetermined roles. She pulled up a holographic display showing the alien ship's structure. Look at this. Every part of their ship serves one specific function. Every alien has one specific job. They've eliminated redundancy and chaos from their system because they think it makes them more efficient. Dr. Clark was studying the display. But that means if something unexpected happens, they can't adapt, Lisa finished. They have no backup plans because they never expect their plans to fail. Jake felt a spark of hope. So if we can create enough chaos, we might be able to overwhelm their ability to respond, Lisa agreed. But Jake, there's something else you need to know. Earth wasn't their only failure. She changed the display to show a star map with dozens of red dots scattered across the galaxy. These are other worlds where their testing went wrong. Species that developed beyond their parameters. The collective calls them anomaly worlds. Most of them were destroyed, but some survived long enough to hide. Are any of them still out? There? Dr. Walsh asked. Yes, and they've been watching Earth, waiting to see if we would survive our evaluation phase. Jake stared at the map. You mean we're not alone in this? Not if we can prove we're worth saving. The survivor species only help worlds that show they can contribute something valuable to the fight against the collective. Dr. Clark looked up from his notes. What kind of contribution? The ability to create beneficial chaos, to turn the collective's own rigid system against them. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Jake's communication device crackled to life. Captain Morrison, you need to get to the command center immediately. The aliens are starting their evaluation procedures. Jake and his team rushed to the command center, where Lieutenant Kim was coordinating with observers around the globe. Sir, they're deploying some kind of testing apparatus over major cities. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow. The devices are scanning the populations and selecting individuals. On the main screen, they could see strange silver spheres descending from the alien ship toward Earth's surface. Each sphere was the size of a building and glowed with an inner light. What are they doing? Jake asked. Lisa's face was grim. They're beginning the direct evaluation phase. They're going to test individual humans to see how we respond to their standard protocols. What happens to the people they test? Most species break under the testing. Their creativity gets destroyed, and they become controllable. But Jake, this might be our chance. How? Because they're going to test us using the same methods they use on every other species. They expect us to react like everyone else. But we're not like everyone else. Jake looked at the alien spheres descending toward Earth cities, carrying unknown tests for humanity. Then let's show them exactly how different we can be. Dr. Walsh was already working at her computer. I'm analyzing the energy signatures from those spheres. If we can understand how their testing works, maybe we can figure out how to turn it into an advantage. Lisa smiled for the first time since she had returned. Now you're thinking like a human. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner stood in the silver sphere that had landed in Central Park, looking around at the strange room that had materialized inside it. The walls showed moving patterns of light, and the floor felt like it was alive under his feet. 3 other humans stood beside him, all volunteers who had walked into the testing device when it opened its doors. Engineer Ryer Roberts was examining the walls with her scanner. The technology is incredible. It's like the whole room is one giant computer. Biologist Tom Bradley was taking notes on everything he saw. The patterns on the walls change based on our movements. It's reacting to us. Survival expert Rachel Stone was testing the floor with her boot. Whatever this place is, it's designed to change. We need to be ready for anything. A voice spoke from everywhere at once, the same emotionless tone they had heard from the evaluator. Testing subjects prepared. Evaluation protocols initiating. Subject designation Alex Turner. You will proceed to individual testing chamber 1. A doorway opened in the wall, leading to a smaller room filled with strange equipment. Wait, Alex said. We volunteer as a group. We stay together. Incorrect. Testing procedures require individual evaluation. Group cooperation interferes with accurate measurement of subject capabilities. Nina stepped up beside Alex. Then you're going to have a problem, because we don't abandon our teammates. The voice paused for several seconds. Clarification required. Testing efficiency is improved by individual assessment. Group participation reduces data accuracy. Tom was writing in his notebook. That's exactly what Dr. Parker said. They can't understand cooperation because their system is built on individual roles. We're not going into separate rooms, Rachel said firmly. If you want to test us, you test us together. Another pause, longer this time. Group testing protocols are not available. Individual testing must proceed. Then we're not participating, Alex said. All 4 humans sat down on the floor. The patterns on the walls began flashing rapidly. Subject cooperation is required for evaluation completion. We are cooperating, Nina pointed out. We're cooperating with each other. That's how humans work. Back at Earth, Defense Station Alpha, Jake Morrison watched the video feed from inside the testing sphere with growing amazement. Dr. Lisa Parker sat beside him, explaining what they were seeing. This is exactly what I hoped would happen, Lisa said. Their testing system literally cannot handle group cooperation. Look at the wall patterns. They're flashing faster and faster because the computer's trying to process something it wasn't designed for. Dr. Amy Walsh was monitoring the alien ship's energy readings. The power output from their ship is fluctuating. Whatever our people are doing in there is causing problems with their systems. Inside the sphere, the voice spoke again, but this time it sounded uncertain. Alternative testing protocol required. Group evaluation initiating. The room changed. Around them, instead of separate chambers, the walls showed them a series of problems to solve. The first was a maze with multiple dead ends and only one correct path. Standard logic puzzle, Tom observed. We're supposed to try different paths until we find the right one. But Alex was already studying the maze with his team. What if we don't play by their rules? Nina, can you tell if these walls are solid? Nina scanned the maze walls with her equipment. They're just energy projections. We could walk right through them if we wanted to. That would be cheating, Rachel pointed out with a grin. No, Alex said. That would be thinking like humans. All four of them walked straight through the maze walls, ignoring the designated paths completely. They reached the exit in 30 seconds, instead of the expected 30 minutes. The wall patterns flashed wildly. Error. Subjects failed to follow maze protocols. Test invalid. We solved the maze, Nina said. We got from start to finish. That was the goal, right? Another long pause. Alternative solution methods not included in evaluation parameters. The next test appeared. It was a resource allocation problem. The computer showed them a scenario where they had limited supplies and had to decide who would get what resources to maximize survival. Tom read the problem aloud. 5 people, 3 days of food, 1 medical kit, 2 weapons. Decide optimal. Distribution. The humans looked at each other and started laughing. What's funny about survival scenarios? The voice asked. You want us to decide who gets to live and who gets to die, Rachel explained. But that's not how humans work. We find ways for everyone to survive, Alex nodded. First, we pool all resources. Then we figure out how to stretch 3 days of food into enough for everyone. Nina, can you modify equipment to help with that? Already thinking about it. Food can be rationed more efficiently if we change meal timing. Medical supplies can be divided into smaller doses that still work. And weapons? We don't need weapons if we're working together. Within minutes, they had developed a plan that kept all 5 hypothetical people alive and healthy. The computer's response was immediate. Solution exceeds test parameters. Scenario. Designed for resource competition evaluation. Cooperation eliminates competitive elements. Exactly, Tom said cheerfully. Competition is wasteful. Cooperation is efficient. The patterns on the walls were now flashing so rapidly, they looked like solid light. Jake could hear stress alarms coming from the alien ship through his monitoring equipment. Lisa, what's happening to their systems? He asked. They're overloading. Their computers are trying to process solutions that don't fit any of their programmed categories. It's like trying to run music software on a calculator. The system just can't handle it. Inside the sphere, the testing continued. Problem after problem appeared, and every time, the 4 humans found ways to solve them that broke the expected patterns. When faced with individual survival challenges, they worked as a team. When given logical puzzles, they found creative shortcuts. When presented with leadership scenarios, they shared decision-making. Most disturbing to the alien system, they seemed to be enjoying the whole experience. "This is actually fun," Nina said, after they had solved a complex engineering problem by using completely unconventional methods. "It's like the world's most advanced puzzle game. Fun is not a measured parameter in evaluation protocols," the voice said, but now it sounded almost confused. "Maybe that's your problem," Rachel suggested. "You've forgotten how to have fun." The final test appeared. It was supposed to be the ultimate challenge, designed to break the subject's spirits and make them accept authority. The room filled with images of destruction, failure, and hopelessness. The voice spoke with more authority than before. "Final evaluation. Subjects will observe the futility of resistance. Accept integration into collective systems or face planetary termination." Alex looked at his teammates, then at the images of destruction surrounding them. Instead of fear or despair, he felt something else entirely. "You know what? You're right about one thing. Resistance is futile." The alien system registered satisfaction. Compliance confirmed. Subjects accept collective authority. Alex smiled. "No, resistance is futile because we're not going to resist. We're going to do something much worse. Clarification required. We're going to be ourselves. And apparently, that's the one thing your system can't handle." Dr. Lisa Parker stood in the communication room of Earth Defense Station Alpha, her modified brain processing data streams that would have overwhelmed any normal human. What she discovered in the alien databases made her stomach turn cold. "Jake, you need to see this," she called to Captain Morrison, who was coordinating with the testing teams around the world. "I've been analyzing their communication signals, and I found something terrible." Jake rushed over to her workstation, where streams of alien data scrolled across multiple screens. "What is it?" "The Testing Worlds program isn't just about creating worker species," Lisa said, her voice tight with anger. "It's about creating specialized tools. Each world is designed to produce beings who can do one specific job perfectly." She pulled up a galactic map showing thousands of star systems, each marked with different symbols. "Look at this. Warrior worlds produce species that are perfect soldiers, but can't think for themselves. Builder worlds create beings who can construct anything but have no imagination. Thinker worlds make species that can solve complex problems, but can't understand emotions." Dr. Amy Walsh joined them, studying the data. "They're making biological machines." "Exactly. And Earth was supposed to be something special. We were designated as a chaos adaptation world, designed to produce beings who could handle unpredictable situations." Jake felt his anger growing. "But they expected us to be controllable." "Right. They wanted chaos specialists who would follow orders. Beings who could adapt to any situation, but would never question the system they were adapting for." Lisa changed the display to show Earth's developmental timeline. "But something went wrong early in our development. Instead of becoming controllable chaos handlers, we became something they never intended." "What?" "Chaos creators. We don't just adapt to unpredictable situations. We actively create beneficial chaos. We turn rigid systems into flexible ones. We find opportunities in disasters." Dr. Walsh was studying the genetic data. "Lisa, this is incredible. According to their records, we were supposed to stop developing creativity around 10,000 years ago. Instead, we increased it. And that's not even the worst part," Lisa continued. "I found their real plan for humanity." She pulled up another file, this one marked with priority symbols that flashed urgently. They weren't just going to use us as chaos specialists. They were going to use us to fix other worlds where their testing had failed. Worlds where species had become too rigid to function properly. Jake stared at the data. They wanted us to be their repair crew. More than that, they wanted us to be their universal problem solvers. Send humans to any world that wasn't working. Right, and we would figure out how to fix it. But we would never be allowed to keep the improvements for ourselves. Dr. Walsh looked up from her analysis. That's horrifying. They were going to make us into eternal servants. And the really scary part is that it might have worked, Lisa said. Humans are naturally good at helping others and solving problems. If they had approached us differently, we might have agreed to help them. But they made one critical mistake, Jake realized. They tried to control us first. Exactly. And now we know something they don't know we know. What's that? Lisa smiled. Grimly. Their entire galactic civilization is breaking down. She brought up a new display showing status reports from across the alien empire. Warning symbols flashed on hundreds of worlds. Look at this. Warrior species on 17 worlds have stopped fighting because they can't understand why they're supposed to fight. Builder species on 34 worlds have stopped building because they've run out of things to construct. Thinker species on dozens of worlds have shut down because they solved all the problems they were given. Dr. Walsh leaned forward. They over-specialized their species. Right. They made each species so focused on one thing that they can't adapt when situations change. And situations are changing all across the galaxy. Jake studied the reports. What kind of changes? Natural disasters, resource depletion, contact with other civilizations. All the kinds of unpredictable events that require flexible thinking to solve. The kind of thinking they bred out of their species, Dr. Walsh added. Exactly. The Oversight Collective created a galactic empire of biological robots, and now they're discovering that robots can't handle real-world complexity. Lisa brought up one more file, this one showing Earth's evaluation status. But here's the thing that really scares them. Our testing results are spreading. What do you mean? Other species are starting to see reports about Earth, about humans, who work together across genetic lines, who turn problems into opportunities, who treat survival challenges as games. And some of those species are starting to ask questions. Jake felt a spark of hope. They're starting to think for themselves. Some of them, yes, especially the species that were recently modified. They still have enough creativity left to wonder why they're not allowed to cooperate with other species or try new approaches to problems. Dr. Walsh was reviewing communication logs. Lisa, I'm seeing something interesting here. There are encrypted messages being sent between different alien worlds. Messages that don't go through the collective's main communication network. Underground communications, Lisa confirmed. Species that are secretly talking to each other without the collective's knowledge. And they're all asking the same question. What? Question? How did the humans do it? How did one species manage to develop beyond the collective's control parameters? Jake realized the implications. We're not just being evaluated. We're becoming a symbol of what's possible when you don't accept limitations, Lisa agreed. And that's exactly what the collective is afraid of. Alarms began sounding throughout the station. Lieutenant Danny Kim's voice came over the communication system. Captain Morrison, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the alien ship. The evaluator wants to speak with you immediately. And sir, their ship's power levels are fluctuating wildly. Jake and his team rushed to the command center, where the holographic projector was already activated. The evaluator appeared, but it looked different now. Its usually calm demeanor was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like panic. Earth representatives, the evaluator said, its voice less steady than before. Evaluation procedures have produced unexpected results. Immediate consultation required. President Carol Davis appeared on another screen, joining the conversation from the White House Situation Room. What kind of consultation? She asked. Earth subjects have demonstrated capabilities that exceed all known parameters. Standard resolution protocols are insufficient. Dr. Lisa Parker stepped forward. You mean you can't figure out how to control us? The evaluator's large eyes focused on her. You are the escaped research subject. Your modifications have been noted. My modifications just let me process information faster. They didn't change how I think. I still think like a human. That is the problem. Human thinking patterns cannot be predicted or contained within established frameworks. Jake joined the conversation. So what happens now? The Oversight Collective requires new protocols for handling unpredictable species development. Earth. Subjects will be studied further to determine optimal integration methods. And if we refuse to be studied? President Davis asked. The evaluator was quiet for a long moment. Refusal would necessitate alternative resolution methods. You mean destruction, Jake said. Affirmative. However, destruction of Earth subjects would eliminate the opportunity to understand meta-adaptation capabilities. Lisa smiled. You're stuck, aren't you? You can't control us, but you can't afford to destroy us either. Clarification. The collective faces an unprecedented decision matrix. Here's a better clarification, Jake said. You're about to learn what happens when humans decide to stop playing by your rules entirely. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the newly launched Earthship Defiance, watching as alien vessels began appearing throughout the solar system. The Oversight Collective had activated what they called the Resolution Protocol, bringing ships from dozens of worlds to deal with the Earth problem once and for all. Status report, Kate called to her crew. 37 alien ships in formation around Earth, reported Commander Steve Brooks from his sensor station. But Admiral, something's wrong with their formation. They're not moving in coordination. Kate studied the tactical display. Steve was right. The alien ships were supposed to be working together, but instead they seemed to be hanging back, waiting for others to make the first move. That's because they're scared, said Dr. Lisa Parker, who had joined the bridge crew as their alien technology specialist. Their whole system is breaking down, and they don't know how to fix it. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system from Earth Defense Station Alpha. Kate, we're receiving transmissions from some of those alien ships. They're not all following collective orders. What do you mean? Some of the species are refusing to participate in Earth's destruction. They want to know if our approach to problem solving can help their own worlds. On the main screen, the evaluator's hologram appeared, but it looked different now. Its calm appearance was gone, replaced by visible stress and uncertainty. Earth representatives, the evaluator said, the resolution protocol has encountered complications. Several member species are questioning established procedures. President Carol Davis appeared on another part of the screen from the White House. What kind of complications? Species from 14 worlds have requested permission to study Earth's development methods before resolution proceeds. This request has no precedent in collective protocols. Dr. Amy Walsh joined the conversation from her laboratory. Let me guess. They want to learn how to think creatively again. Incorrect terminology. Creative thinking is inefficient and unpredictable. But it works, said Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner, who had become humanity's unofficial spokesperson after his success in the alien testing chambers. And your efficient, predictable methods are failing all across your empire. The evaluator paused for several seconds. Recent reports indicate decreased productivity on multiple worlds. Standard correction procedures have proved insufficient. Kate realized this was their moment, so you need our help. The collective does not require assistance from development subjects. Really? Dr. Lisa Parker pulled up data on her screen. Because according to your own reports, 17 warrior worlds have stopped fighting, 34 builder worlds have stopped building, and 42 thinker worlds have shut down completely. Those are temporary efficiency fluctuations. No, Jake said firmly. Those are the natural result of creating species that can only do one thing. When that one thing becomes obsolete or unnecessary, they have no way to adapt. Alex stepped forward. But we can help them. Not because you're forcing us to, but because that's what humans do. We help. The evaluator's image flickered with uncertainty. Clarification required. Earth subjects would assist collective worlds voluntarily? Under the right conditions, President Davis said. We're not going to be your slaves, but we might be your partners. Partnership protocols do not exist within collective structure. Then maybe it's time to create new protocols, Kate suggested. Suddenly, alarms began blaring on the alien ship. Through the hologram, they could hear urgent voices speaking in alien languages. What's happening? Jake asked. The evaluator seemed to be receiving multiple communications at once. Crisis developing. Species on 12 worlds have stopped following standard procedures. They are attempting to implement Earth-style cooperative methodologies without authorization. Dr. Walsh looked excited. They're trying to work together? Affirmative. Builder species on world 4471 are collaborating with thinker species on world 4472 to solve resource allocation problems. This cooperation violates established role definitions. And is it working? Alex asked. A longer pause. Preliminary results indicate increased efficiency and problem resolution rates. Kate smiled. Of course it's working. Cooperation always works better than isolation. But cooperation creates unpredictability. Control becomes impossible. Control is always impossible, Lisa said gently. You just convinced yourselves it wasn't. The evaluator's image was becoming increasingly unstable. The collective requires immediate consultation. Earth's influence is spreading beyond acceptable parameters. You mean freedom is spreading, Jake corrected. More alien voices could be heard in the background, growing more urgent. The evaluator listened for a moment, then turned back to the humans. Species from 47 worlds have now requested permission to establish direct communication with Earth. They wish to learn cooperative methodologies. Permission from who? President Davis asked. It sounds like they're already making their own decisions. This is exactly what we were afraid of. The evaluator admitted, and for the first time, it sounded almost human. Once species begin thinking independently, they cannot be returned to controlled parameters. Alex laughed. You were afraid that if species learned to think for themselves, they wouldn't want to be controlled anymore. And you were right. But, don't you see, Kate added, that's not a problem to be solved. That's an opportunity to be embraced. We don't understand opportunity-based thinking. Then let us teach you, Dr. Walsh offered. Not as subjects to evaluators, but as one thinking species to another. The evaluator was quiet for a long moment. In the background, they could hear what sounded like dozens of alien voices all talking at once. The collective is experiencing unprecedented decision-making difficulties, the evaluator finally said. Standard protocols provide no guidance for current situation. That's because you've never faced a situation like this before, Lisa explained. You've spent millions of years controlling other species, but you've never had to deal with species that could think for themselves. And now you have 47 worlds full of species that want to learn how to think freely. Jake added. President Davis leaned forward. So here's what we propose. Instead of trying to control everyone, why don't we work together to build something better? Define better. A galactic civilization where every species contributes their unique strengths, instead of being limited to one function. Where problems get solved through cooperation instead of control. Where everyone gets to think and create and grow. The evaluator processed this for several seconds. Such a system would be completely unpredictable. Yes, Alex said with a grin. Isn't it exciting? Excitement is not a measured parameter. Maybe it should be, Kate suggested. The hologram flickered again, and when it stabilized, the evaluator. Looked different somehow, less rigid, more curious. Earth subjects proposed to teach cooperative methodologies to all willing species. We propose to learn from each other, President Davis corrected. Every species has something valuable to contribute, even yours. What could the collective contribute to such cooperation? Organization, technology, knowledge, Lisa listed. You've learned a lot about how to make things work efficiently. We've learned how to make things work creatively. Together, we could probably figure out how to make things work both efficiently and creatively. The evaluator was quiet for a long time. Finally, it spoke in a voice that sounded almost wondering. The collective requires time to process this proposal. It represents a fundamental alteration of all established procedures. Take all the time you need, Jake said. But while you're thinking about it, maybe you should talk to those 47 worlds that want to learn cooperation. You might discover that change isn't as scary as you thought. The hologram faded, leaving the humans alone with the knowledge that they had just turned an alien invasion into a galactic revolution. So, Kate said to her crew, anyone else think we just accidentally became the teachers instead of the test? Subjects? Alex laughed. They called Earth a testing world, and they were half right. They just never realized they were the ones being tested.